Welcome, everyone. We are so excited to have you join us today. So I want to first just tell you all that we're excited. Good morning and welcome. We are so pleased you could join us today. This session is very special to us because it's designed specifically for our Australian guests who are considering a Canadian holiday in 2026 or 2027. Planning a journey to Canada from Australia is no small feat. It involves thoughtful timing, coordination, a lot of early decisions around availability, particularly when you're trying to combine this with a cruise or Northern Lights add-on or some other extended travel. So we're just so fortunate, and lots of gratitude that you would join us today. Just want to give you a quick overview of what we're going to talk about today. So today in our session, what we hope you walk away with is what rail travel feels like in Canada. Just get a sense of the scenery, the comfort, kind of the rhythm of how traveling across Canada could feel. We want you to understand the difference between day trains and sleeper trains and kind of what to expect from that different style in terms of some of the luxuries that could be offered. We want to talk to you about our hotel and service level options, from room categories to upgrades, how we tailor each journey that matches your style, your comfort level. We want to talk a little bit about some of our regions and signature routes that we have. We're going to talk a little bit about winter in Canada and what cross country and Rockies might look like. And then we have something very special that we've done is that only for Australia, we're adding a kind of an add-on component that would allow you to kind of take the train across Canada and see Canada, but then to also experience the Northern Lights. So we're going to talk about how you can coordinate these two experiences as one to add on to your rail journey. And then the other thing we're going to talk about is a very special offer that we are only offering for Australia around those things. And then we'll have a live Q&A. But throughout this whole process, you can drop in questions throughout this whole presentation. We'll try to answer them as we can. And then when we get done, our presenter will actually answer your questions live. So a little bit about Fresh Tracks. Fresh Tracks has been designing personalized Canadian vacations for 30 years. It's actually our birthday this year. We're 30. We're based here in Canada, and we work closely with Via Rail and a Rocky Mountaineer. We've been long-standing partners. This means we understand these rail journeys, how they operate, the different service levels, how to plan around availability and timing. What really sets us apart is that we personalize, because we don't really see it as everyone fitting into kind of a set package, but more of like what you wanted to do, what you want to experience, what kind of is important to you in terms of accessibility or mobility or the pace or the comfort, and really what interests you. We also work with our trusted network of hotels, guides, and tour operators across the country. So we work with the best of the best, which allows us to combine iconic highlights with more thoughtful, well-paced experiences. Everything you hear from us is grounded in firsthand knowledge because we live here and this is who we are. But I won't go into this now, but at the end of this, when we're done, I'm just going to walk you through kind of what this special offer is that is unique to Australia. It is really about securing your 2026, if you're looking at a winter journey, at 2025 pricing, and also your 2027 journey at 2026 pricing. And then there's some opportunity to get an additional $800 that could be used towards some bonus values when you learn more about the different rail choices of upgrades you could do or the add-on in Northern Lights. But we'll talk about that in a little bit later. Little bit about us. If you've seen our communications, you know we talk a lot about being Canadian insiders, and we mean it. And what we mean by that is that it's a big part of how these journeys come together. What makes this different is that our insiders aren't guessing. They've had firsthand experiences. They've traveled these routes, me included. They've stayed in these hotels, and we understand how the days actually feel once you're on that trip. As planning comes together, your Canadian insider helps coordinate the details, train service, hotels, transfers, all the experiences that you'd like to do, milestones, celebrations. So everything works smoothly together without feeling rushed or overscheduled. You'll receive clear confirmations, a detailed itinerary, and practical travel guides outlining what to expect and how to prepare. So by the time you travel, you're confident and you feel well informed. So our support doesn't stop once the trip begins. Our team is with you in terms of being support for you from the time you come into Canada until the time that you leave. We've been creating these personalized Canadian rail vacations since 1996. Now, a little bit about our speaker, because I'm going to turn it over to her. Now, what makes her special, because she's already special to us, because Kirsten is a product manager, and the products and the trip she's going to talk to you about, she helped build. But what makes her more special is that she was actually born in Australia and raised there. She came to Canada as a teen, fell in love with who we are, came here and made Vancouver home, and now has 8 years under her belt. But it won't take long to hear that Aussie accent and know that that's really where her heart is, but she's been able to bring it to us. And so I hope you'll enjoy and really listen to all the trips and things she's going to talk to you about, because I think she made them always with you in mind. Kirsten, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. And hello to everyone. Good morning for you over there in Australia. As Jane said, I was born in Newcastle, Australia. I grew up there, but I did move here just over 8 years ago. So I'm happy and glad to call both places home now. And so I want to instill some of this Canadian knowledge on you today. So my goal is to help you gain knowledge on the Canadian train travel, walking you through those different trains and regions that you want to visit. I want to highlight how these areas suit different travel styles so that you can allow you to feel more ready to speak to one of our vacation advisors and really get started on your planning. We'll also talk about the Northern Lights and how you can add that to one of your Canadian journeys in the fall or winter. And as I well know, and you know as well, travel to Canada from Australia means taking a long flight, sometimes two, sometimes three, depending on how far you're coming to just start your journey. So, not surprisingly, we do see Aussies spend more time in Canada when they visit. So again, today I want to make sure you're able to tick off a lot of your bucket list and see what things you can combine so that you get a full trip when you visit us. What some of you might not know is Canada actually has six different long distance trains, so all varying routes and experiences, but I won't be able to touch on all of them today. So I'm going to focus on two most popular, which is the Rocky Mountaineer and Via Rail's Canadian Sleeper train. So firstly, the scenery. What are you going to see? One of the best parts of Canadian train travel is how wildly different the scenery changes as you move. You'll go from the deep green rainforests on the west coast to desert-like terrain in the inland, and moving further east, you'll go through the Rockies with some mountains double the height of Mount Kosciuszko. Once you pass the Rockies, you have a watershed area with farmland and plains, and then as you reach Ontario and the Niagara region, you have the massive Great Lakes of Ontario. So there are other trains that can take you further through Canada, so you really can see all of Canada by train. Another big part of your journey by train is the food. Both train companies have a full culinary team who create locally inspired meals for a gourmet dining experience on board. This means you get to taste each part of your journey as well as you travel across Canada, and you'll definitely never go hungry. Train travel in Canada is all about taking your time. The trains move slow so that you don't miss any of the scenery, but it also allows you to get into that slow pace. So start your day with a slow coffee, listen to an audiobook as you watch the scenery go by, or make friends in the many social areas. This is really not about getting from point A to point B. This is about making those meaningful memories to take home and share with your loved ones. The difference between driving these routes and train travel is just how much more of the Canadian landscape you can take in. Similar to cruising, you get to sit back and enjoy the journey without having to plan the route yourself. So, of all the train experiences available and the difference of a summer versus winter, which one is best for you? You might be asking. So, let me talk you through both trains to help you make that decision. Uh, Firstly, let's talk about Rocky Mountaineer. So this is a daylight only service, and Rocky Mountaineer, as Jane mentioned, is one of our longest serving partners. We're celebrating our 30th year this year, and has been a part of us since the beginning. So when you look on our website, you might see that a large majority of these itineraries have Rocky Mountaineer in them, but you might be asking why they're all in summer. And that is because this train does only operate between April and October. But it is a great, beautiful journey. They really do focus on the scenery and the service. So it means you're on board during the daytime, but in a hotel at night. So that means you're getting the best of both worlds. You get the maximum views, but you get the maximum comfort when you're sleeping. They do have two levels of service, which is silver leaf and gold leaf. So before take you through each of the differences, I want to highlight what they have in common. They both give you comfortable reclining seats with ample legroom. You get complimentary alcoholic and non alcoholic beverages throughout the journey, and a full storytelling hospitality with your wonderful onboard hosts. So that's standard across the board. They are giving you lots of knowledge about the history of the areas, um, bringing in some fun jokes and some really highlight the areas that you're traveling through. And then both include a fabulous gourmet dining experience each day. In terms of the differences, we'll start with Silverleaf. So this really isn't a comparison to say one is better than the other. It really is dependent on what suits you best and your comforts. So here is a visual of the single level Silverleaf coach. It has these large panoramic windows for you to take in the views, and you are assigned seating throughout. The meals would be served to your seat table, and it is a plated gourmet meal. But this does mean it makes it easier for those who might have some difficulty getting around if mobility is a question for you. Silverleaf is a good option so that you're not having to get up and around throughout the day. And one thing I really want to say, my favorite thing with Silverleaf is the friendly hosts. So one thing you might not know is that the hosts actually get trained in Goldleaf and move into Silverleaf when they're more seasoned. So that does mean that the hosts here have had a few seasons under their belt. They can work in jokes within their commentary, and it doesn't feel much like a script. So it really is a great experience overall in the Silverleaf. But there are three main reasons that people tend to upgrade to Gold Leaf. The first is the obvious. It is a bi-level coach, giving you a higher vantage point at the top there, and the windows are more dome-like, so you can see up and through the top windows to the mountains with ease. The second is the food. You actually move downstairs to a dining room to enjoy your breakfast and lunch whilst you're on board, and it is a la carte, so they have a full kitchen attached within each of these cars, brought to you at your table for both breakfast and lunch. And the third benefit and reason that people upgrade is the outdoor viewing platform. On the back of the level there, at the back you can see there's just a small outdoor platform where you have access to take photos if you're inclined to that. And it is just it does just break out the socialness of this journey. So now onto VRL's Canadian train. This is your classic overnight rail experience. You're not just traveling during the day this time, so you travel both day and night. This means that you sleep on board, you enjoy meals in the dining car, you socialize in the lounge, and you wake up completely new scenery every day. So there's a real sense of nostalgic rail charm here. Although these are renovated cars, they're actually built in the 1950s, and it captures that golden age of rail travel, but with the modern comforts and service standards. So you feel elegant without feeling formal. And this entire route can actually take you between Vancouver and Toronto, and it travels twice a week in each direction. But most people, the journey with us, don't take it all at once. They tend to break it up or just take a portion of it. So you can do a stopover in the Rockies or Winnipeg, for example, or it is popular to do just the one night between Vancouver and Jasper. So given that it's a sleeper train, I'm sure you're asking, where do you sleep? And there are actually two levels here as well. We have Sleeper Plus and Prestige Class. So Sleeper Plus are your standard cabins with bunk bedding, or they do have a dedicated cabin for one. So the benefit here is that because it is dedicated for a solo person, you're not paying a single supplement. So for the train portion here, it's saving you the cost there as a solo traveler. Um, and then when you're in Prestige Class, as you can see here, it's a large L-shaped lounge in the daytime, and that converts to a double bed overnight. So when you're comparing sleeping components, you go from bunk bedding to a double bed there. The other upgrade benefits to Prestige Class is the amenities. You have a concierge service, and they can bring you meals to your bed. You can have breakfast in bed as you're cruising along, and you have included alcoholic beverages as well. So both options offer you uh, clean and comfortable sleeping arrangements. You have a picture window, access to showers, and comfortable sleeping arrangements. Now onto what you do outside of your cabins. So one of the highlights for this season's all seasons is dining and observation cars. We have multiple of these glass domed cars throughout the carriage trains, and they have different reasons for them. So for example, in the middle, we have the Skyline car, which has games and entertainment during the day. They might have a wine tasting there or a chess game for you to play. And then just upstairs from there is the dome windows to take in the scenery. One thing I wanted to highlight and the differences between summer and winter is the Bullet Lounge, which you're seeing pictured here on the left. The Bullet Lounge is the final car on the train, so it's great to be able to see the train tracks behind you disappearing as you travel and taking in those views. it also has a bar and an upstairs viewing area. So it's a great place to relax and enjoy the scenery throughout the day. In the summertime, this is an exclusive area to prestige pet travelers, so certainly a benefit to them in the summertime, but then in the winter, Sleeper Plus and Prestige can both enjoy this area. So it is a benefit to traveling in the winter in Sleeper Plus to be able to enjoy this area of the train as well. And as you might be thinking, I kind of want to do both trains. And we actually find that a lot of people do. So this would be a Rocky Mountaineer and Sleeper train combo, giving you the best of both worlds. If this is your one-time Canadian vacation, I highly recommend doing both. So that would mean visiting between April and October, and you can go across Canada with Rocky Mountaineer in the west and Veer in the east, or you can circle back to Vancouver so that you're just taking in the Western Canada areas. Make sure to ask one of our Canadian vacation advisors about these trips if you're looking into that option. So that is about the trains. Now let's talk about how you pair them with hotels, accommodations, and tours and such. So choosing accommodation can definitely be tiresome, especially when you look at Canada and you're not seeing brands that you're familiar with. There isn't a Marriott in the Rockies to be seen. So that is where my team comes in. So the product team, which I'm a part of, we spend hours reading feedback, visiting the hotels, and ensuring it's not just the right hotel chosen for each town, but the right hotel room type. So this means that we're not just going with the starting room type in each given hotel. We do choose these with slightly better view, or maybe it has had recent renovations to ensure you're getting the best value for money and the most comfort in your trip. This is one of the reasons we get consistent 5-star reviews because we truly do know, believe in our products. But to help guide you in your planning, we do have 3 levels of service named Comfort, which is just that, a clean and comfortable hotel, centrally located, a 3-star-ish of a level. In the middle, we have Superior, which is a little bit more upgraded. You might have a boutique style hotel at the 4-star level. And then we move into Deluxe, which is the best property in each location. So these are going to be your iconic Fairmonts, which you're seeing here. The pictured is the Fairmont Banff Springs, and that's going to give you the best of the best. But if you're not looking to necessarily stick with one level throughout, you can mix and match, which is really popular if you're wanting to splurge in one location but save in another. So our sales team really makes sure to ask you the important questions to see what is important to you at a hotel and pick the right ones throughout your journey. And then the third major component of your trip are the personalized tours and excursions. And yes, I have had to learn to spell personalization with a Z. So tours is another area my team spends a lot of time scoping out. We really vet our partners and what they offer, not just the content of the tour, but the guides and the company's ethos. Where possible, which is in most places, our tours are small and guided experiences, so you're never on a huge group or in a large tour bus. The average tour size is actually between 12 and 20 people. This is also part of what sets us apart. So Canada is known for its hospitality, and we want to make sure that the guides you meet along the way give that true Canadian experience, and you can escape the crowds as much as possible. But what you do in each location is entirely up to you. So now that we've covered the basics of what makes up a package with us, that's trains, hotels, tours, and transfers, let's look into more of the destinations and seasons. This will help you decide where you're wanting to visit along your way. Compared to our neighbors in the US, we do see that Australians are wanting to visit Canada in the winter more percentage wise. So I'll focus a little bit more on the winter experiences. And it's not surprising to see this because we do know that the Canadian winter versus the Australian winter is quite different. So this does mean you are getting those unique memories when visiting Canada in winter. So starting in Western Canada, this is your prime Canadian destination. It includes our home city of Vancouver and beautiful British Columbia, and then through to Alberta and the Canadian Rockies. Those who are looking for a bucket list, iconic postcard Canadian experience will want to visit this area. And people have compared the landscapes here to the beauty like in Tasmania or the South Island of New Zealand, which I would definitely agree with as a clear reference point, but it is pretty incomparable once you go past that because the flora, the fauna, and the geology are completely different. So in the summertime, you're going to see those iconic turquoise lakes, the green landscapes, and hopefully some wildlife like bears. Whereas in the winter, those lakes are going to be frozen, but without the crowds, and you'll be able to relax and enjoy some pampering with the snow falling outside, or you can get out exploring in the snow depending on your thrill level. The wildlife in winter is still there as well, just without the bears. So I wanted to highlight our Winter Wonderland trip, which is a 9-day excursion between Vancouver and Calgary. This gives you a 1 night experience on the train and 5 nights to explore the Rockies off the train. So some of the highlights here is that you're going to see the Rockies without those summer crowds, and you get to choose your level of adventure. So if you want to go dog sledding, you can, but if you just want to sit in a hot tub and enjoy the winterscape around you, that's totally your choice as well. The other thing I wanted to highlight is that the Fairmont properties that are pretty iconic to this area, Chateau Lake Louise and Fairmont Brant Springs, are at a much lower price point in the winter. So if that's something you're wanting to get that iconic stay, but not pay the $2,000 ticket that it is in summer, then the winter gives you a better opportunity to stay there. And then highlighting a cross Canada journey. So this would take you through the full southern areas of Canada if you wish. It can take you all the way from Vancouver through to Halifax in Nova Scotia, and that's over about a 3-week journey. But if you don't have that much time, traveling between Vancouver and Toronto is a really popular route as well. It gives you those two iconic train experiences in the summertime, or in the winter, you get the full cross Canada sleeper train journey. So here, I wanted to highlight the winter experience, which we combine with a 4-night stopover in the Canadian Rockies. So this means you would potentially fly into Vancouver, spend a night on the train to Jasper, and then transfer between Jasper and Banff by road, experiencing the hotels, tours, and transfers and iconic experiences there. And then another 3 nights on the train to get you through to Toronto. So you're getting the highlights of all across Canada that can offer you in a winter experience. And then lastly, wanting to highlight the Eastern Canada and Maritimes region, which is definitely more of a summertime experience, but we do see it really popular with Aussies. So one of our most popular Australian journeys is takes you from Montreal, Quebec City through to Halifax over 8 days with 2 different train experiences, including 1 night on a sleeper train out there as well. And this area is really known for its big cities, Toronto and Montreal, I'm sure you've heard of, but also those European influences that Quebec and the Celtic influence over in Nova Scotia and Halifax. So that's talking you through all the iconic Southern Canadian experiences. But as Jane mentioned, I really want to also highlight some of our Northern Canadian experiences, particularly the Northern Lights, which spans across all of the northern regions of Canada. But you might be asking why choose Canada? Because you've probably heard of Norway and Iceland as a Northern Lights destination, but Canada statistically performs just as well, if not better, as a Northern Lights destination in the world. So the aurora, it's not just a winter phenomenon. We actually see the solar flares occur 300 plus nights per year. So it just needs to be dark enough for you to be able to see them. The lights are best seen in northern Canada, so that's across the Yukon, Northwest Territories, and northern Manitoba. And I've been lucky enough to experience all 3 of these. There are 2 main aurora seasons in Canada. We have fall and winter, and neither is better or statistically different. So all of the trips that we offer do travel in the prime aurora season. The lights, they have been historically tracked, and it is shown that they do show every second to third evening during aurora season. So therefore, if you stay at least 3 nights, you have over a 90% chance of seeing the aurora at least once. So the choice of timing is really just personal preference. I want to highlight the Yukon specifically, as that does pair well with our promotion right now. So just giving you some more details in the Yukon specifically. There are pros and cons to each destination, and you can definitely speak to a vacation advisor to understand in more detail so that you have everything you need there. But some key reasons that we see people choose the Yukon is access, firstly. We work with Air North, who are Yukon's national airline, and they operate daily flights from Vancouver and Calgary up to Whitehorse. So that fits in really logistically well, especially if you're visiting the Western Canada areas. We can just tack on that flight and 3 nights from Vancouver or Calgary, depending on the best route for you. Another reason is infrastructure. Whitehorse, as a city in the north, is somewhat ahead of the rest of northern cities. They have more restaurants, shopping, and other comforts. And lastly, it's lodges. Another experience for Northern Lights is staying in a lodge outside of the town areas, and the Yukon area has 2 that are really easily accessible, offering you a lower price point for a remote experience. The Yukon itself, it ticks a lot of boxes for your daytime wants as well, with all of your typical winter options like dog sledding, snowmobiling, and ice fishing. Plus, there's also a local hot springs and a wildlife preserve. And here, our sightseeing tour is also really popular. So so you're able to see some of the beauty from the sky as well. So this really gives you a balance of thrill and relaxation over your 3-night stay that you're looking to do here. And so just to highlight what that 3-night add-on would look like, and as I say, we can add this in the fall and winter to any journey that starts or ends in Calgary or Vancouver. So you have a 3-night stay in downtown Whitehorse. We do include winter clothing rentals here. And I do just want to highlight in this moment that for the Rockies and the southern areas, we don't have any options for winter clothing rentals. So you do still need to bring that with you. But in the north, it does get as low as -30, -40. So this is really just an extra layer for that Arctic region. And then in the daytime, we've included the wildlife preserve and hot springs experience, as well as a city tour and your choice of dog sledding or flight scene to round it all out. So that really highlights the different experiences you can have on the train, the tours that you might want to experience there out there, and just giving you that general overview of all the different options that might be able to build out a trip for yourself. So now I'm going to pass back to Jane, who's going to tell you about our legendary hospitality team who take care of you after you've booked.
So thank you, Kirsten. And I think you can see that she is as passionate as you can come when it comes to that, bringing her passion of travel and her all the things that she's learned from living in Australia, and then bringing that to us in Canada. We're very fortunate to have her. So you've heard us talk about personalization, and I did like the way that Kirsten let us all know that we spell it wrong with that Z, but we do call it that. So with personalization, and what does that mean? It means that it's a lot of different ways, right? It's about what is your comfort level? What are your needs? So I know one of the questions someone asked is, what if I have food allergies? I can tell you, and we've got some great stories of someone who had some of the most extreme, serious food allergies, and everybody worked to such a degree that even to the brand that this person needed. And so Rocky went and got that brand, and everything they served, they made sure that that was the bread that they were given, that was the dairy product that was given, because it wasn't just that they had an allergy, but they also needed specific brands that they did tolerate better. Other mobility and accessibility issues, if you use a walker or if you have a seat pack or anything like that, those are all things we can work within. You just have to let us know, and then we accommodate that. And we do a great job about doing that. But it's also the fun stuff. So you have to tell us your milestone. Are you coming because you're celebrating a retirement, a birthday, an anniversary, a family get together? And we do little special things to help make that even more meaningful and more unforgettable. So I want to let you know, when I said to you that we're with you from the time you arrive until the time you leave, and we are. So once you're done kind of with the planning and really figuring out what your holiday is going to look like, and you booked it, then what happens, you go to, from our Canadian insiders that helped you set up that, to now our customer experience specialist team. And they'll be here to support you with any questions you have, pre, during, and post. And they work with you about 30 to 45 days before your travel date. You get like all this kind of detailed itinerary, even packing lists, gratuity suggestions, weather guidelines, just, all kinds of guides and things that help you through that. But you'll be getting communications throughout the whole time, just getting you ready for it. So and then on the road, if anything should come up, and we've had, things come up, from health things to a family thing that changed, to just concern about where you were at, it wasn't what you thought, or whatever it is, but they will take care of you on the road. And they just make sure that you have everything you need in terms of all the recommendations and all the things that you're going to do, so that it really is that memorable, unforgettable. You've come a long way, and you've invested in this time in Canada, and we want you to leave with it being everything that it can be. So the last thing is just, again, letting you know that it's about the local knowledge that makes the difference. And you can see that just hearing Kirsten talk about it. So just real quick, and then we're going to go into the Q&A, just about the offer that we have. So what we have is that for you guys, because, as Kirsten said, we found that winter seems to be a very important time, one of the important times for the planning. So we wanted to open that up. So what we're going to do is to say that if you secure your 2026 winter journey, you'll get it at a 2025 pricing, or the 2026 if it's for 2027. Additionally, $800 per couple that can be used towards either the addition to that to help offset the cost of the Northern Lights add-on, or for some of the upgrades, or the additional experiences. So it's just giving you more flexibility, just because we're excited to have you guys here, and because Kirsten made us do it. So we're going to go to the Q&A now. So what's going to happen is we're going to move to a different screen, and now you can ask some of your questions. So I'm going to ask Kirsten to join us, and I'm going to have Kirsten, Kirsten give you a couple questions that kind of came up earlier, and then I'll be ready to walk you through some of the questions that we've been getting sent so far. So to start with, one of the questions was, when you're in the VRL, how does the showers work? Like, is it shared? Is it down the hallway? Do you have one in your cabin? How does that work?
Yeah, good question. I apologize for not covering that. So it does differ between the different services we talked about. So those Sleeper Plus cabins with the bunk bedding and the single bed, they have a shared shower within each car, whereas Prestige actually has a full wet room bathroom. So they have a toilet and shower within the cabin. Going back to the other cabins, they also have a toilet within the cabin, so just shared shower facilities. And I can also see here that someone asked if the trains cater to food allergies, and they most certainly do. They can go as far as keto, vegan, everything in between. So they're very well catered to that. Another question from Adelaide. You did ask a question about single travelers, as I did mention the supplement there on the train. So all of our packages do have a single component to it. You're more than welcome to travel with us. Maybe what we didn't highlight very well is that all of our travel is independently planned. So you're not traveling in a big group the whole time. So there is some single supplements, so to say, throughout, which is essentially the hotel room cost is shared between one person versus two. But everything where we can save you that money, we certainly would pass it on to you. Let's see, another question here. Nicole, I see you've asked about dog sledding in October. So they don't have dog sledding in October as the snowfall isn't quite thick enough yet, but they do have something called dog carting, which essentially they use an ATV to train the dogs in that season. So the dogs need to be ready to start in December when the snow is deep enough for dog sledding, but in the fall they offer a training run, which you can certainly get involved with. Jane?
Yeah, so somebody was asking you a little bit about, can the prestige cabin range only for two people? What happens if you're traveling alone? And so I think you kind of addressed that a little bit, but the ideal that you could figure that out, right, with how you could do that in different ways. And
Certainly
I
can.
think the thing that we'd want to tell you, and you'll see it on the side. So on the side of this, you'll see web links, and then it has view web only savings, so that'll take you to the more detailed of it. And what we would encourage you on those individual questions when it comes to, like, can I do this and can I do that? That's the whole value of talking to a Canadian insider, because they'll actually know, like, what date you're talking about. They'll know, like, what's available and what options they can provide for you. So I think what we can tell you is that there's lots of flexibility. It's more about the conversation that you'll get to have with your Canadian insider about your specific request, and then the date you want to go and where you want to go, and then they can answer it a little bit better there. And then I know one of you asked kind of a question about needing to have someone check in with you, that you already have something booked. We'll get you connected. So I'll work on that individually. We won't address that here. I think that some people were asking you about the views from the prairies to the mountains. So I don't know if you want to talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, once you get past the Rockies, it does start to flatten out. The prairies are known for their beautiful sunsets because there are no mountains getting in the way. But what the area is really well known for is their watershed. So by watershed, I mean countless lakes. So every little lake you're seeing there, you'll see lots of wildlife along the way. So the scenery doesn't have the mountains that you're probably looking for on a postcard, but it has its beauty in other ways. And then Jane, I did just see one question here about how to consult with someone on the other side of the world. So I just wanted to highlight that question as well. So we are open Pacific time until 6 p.m. So right now it's 4:30 p.m. for us here in Vancouver. So it really means that the mornings are the best time to call us and speak over the phone, but we're always accessible by email. We've booked plenty of people without speaking on the phone, although that is preferred so that we can get that consultation there. But your best time is early morning.
But we'd ask you, probably the best way to do it is, you'll see that link to say schedule a call. So our best choice is for you to schedule a call, because we do have some of our Canadian insiders that are willing to do some of the evenings, and they've opened some slots for you because they knew we were having this and they knew that you might have questions. So if you'll go look at that, click on to schedule a call, and we're going to send you an email right after this with that link to it. And then that way you can schedule a call on a time that works for you. And that's probably the best way to do it. And that's what we're going to encourage you guys to do, because we realize that there could be that time difference. difference. So like I said, we have people who will do it. And the question was, do we do video calls? We absolutely do. They can do Zoom calls. Part of that scheduling a call, you'll have an option to ask if you want to do a video call or just have it be a phone call. So either or, you can do that.
Yes. And then just I do see here a question about the busiest months and crowds. So again, the vacation advisors can help you with that. So just make sure to give us a call and we'll talk you through that. Um, and sorry, there was a question I wanted to see.
There's a question about luggage on the train.
Thank you. That was it. I saw that multiple times. So no, the luggage is checked separately from you on the train. So when you're on the sleeper train, you'll want to have a soft bag for the time that you're on board the train to cover your what you need there. But otherwise, with Rocky Mountaineer, it's completely separate. You're just there on the daytime. You just want a backpack. So the short answer, no, it is separately travel separately to you.
And I know we had somebody ask about, are we able to book flights from Australia? And do you want to speak to what we do and don't
Yeah,
do?
of course, of course. So flights are unfortunately not in our wheelhouse, but we're more than happy to look into options with you, give you best advice on arrival times and such. And I do know that a lot of Australians tend to work with a travel agent, a strong majority of you. And so we work with travel agents ourselves. So you're more than welcome to get your travel agent talking to us and helping you book that full package so that you have the flights included.
And you have a question about how long are the city stops in the Vancouver to Toronto trip?
Yeah, sure. So the Vancouver to Toronto trip that I highlight there in winter, it does have 2 nights in Vancouver and just 1 night in Toronto. But as Jane has said multiple times, our trips are really tailored to you. So when we talk with you, the only thing we really need to work around is the train schedules. Everything else we can play around with so that you're staying as long as you want or as short as you want in those different locations.
And you had somebody say that they might be in Montreal around the August, September 2027 and wanted to know, is it better to do Rockies before or after if they're in that time of August, September?
That really depends on what you want to get out of it. Both times are perfect. So you've got the fall, so you get more fall colors if you go afterwards, but in the summer you'll get those more iconic summer days, experiences, and lakes at their best, that turquoise color in the Rockies. So really you could go either way. We probably need to ask a few more questions to decide the best one.
And that's what I was going to go back to. A lot of these questions are great questions, but because it's best to ask them, because that's exactly what the Canadian Insider who you'll talk to will do. They'll actually say, like, you could be more specific. You'll be on a call, or you could be on a video call, or just a phone call. And then you just say, like, we're looking at this time. And then they'll ask you questions like, do you like crowds? Do you want this? Do you want that? What are you hoping to see? And they'll really give you a good kind of like understanding so they can personalize it for you personally versus just kind of giving you a package deal.
And I can tell we haven't answered all the questions here because there's a lot coming through, but I just want to highlight that these are going to get saved and we'll make sure you're all send an email with answers to every single question you've asked here. So no one is missing out on
Yes.
answers. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. If we miss anything or we feel like it's something that we'd want to answer more individually, we'll do that. I know you've answered this, but maybe one more time. They ask, what
Sure.
are the busiest months and how do I avoid crowds?
Yeah, sure. So the busiest months are definitely July, well, actually June through September these days is getting busier. But there are ways that we can sneak you away from the crowds. So that's why we focus on the small group experiences for one. We can make sure the hotels that we choose are outside of the town area if you really want to avoid the crowds in that way. So even in those peak travel times, we can work it into a way that suits your comfortability. But if you're looking for avoiding the crowds, like in full, you'd want to travel in the winter. Anytime in the winter is pretty low crowds, or April and early October.
We have one more question and then we'll wrap it up. And then, like Kirsten said, you're going to get an email that's going to give you kind of a landing page, a website to go to that will answer a lot of the questions that kind of came up. Then we'll also do some individual responses back to some of your questions that we weren't able to ask. And then we'd also encourage you just to schedule a call and talk to your Canadian Insider who will answer everything for you. But one of the questions was, and I want to see because I lost it now. Let me find, where did it go? Oh, this was a great question. No one's ever asked this. Is there a side of the train that's better to be on?
We actually, when I started in sales, so I've moved through the product over the years here with Fresh Tracks, but it is actually a common question you get in the sales side of things. And actually, no, there's really not a best side of the train. With Rocky Mountaineer, you are set. You do get a set side of the train to sit on for those 2 to 3 days you're on board the train. On VRL, you're moving about, so there's no difference there at all. But absolutely, with Rocky Mountaineer, there's no better way on the train, no better side. and you'll get to see the views no matter where you are.
Great. Okay, so we're gonna wrap it up. I said it was our last one, but someone did ask a question. I was like, oh, it's a good one. And they asked, is it too early May is early May too late to book a holiday for travel? And I think the best answer is we don't know, because we don't know what dates you want to go and when you want to go. It does start to fill up. Prestige fills up very quickly. So like if you're looking at having the Prestige sleeper train, then you just want to get on a call sooner than later, just so you'll know your options, just so you'll know when they have availability and when they don't. But we appreciate your time. You guys have been fantastic. These are great questions. And Kirsten, thank you for giving us your time and for sharing.
Absolutely.
And then thank you, Australia, for sharing Kirsten with us. So we're pretty lucky. And like I said, we'll get back to you with some different information, like just the savings, and then that'll happen today. Tomorrow, you'll also get one with this recording. So if there's anything you didn't wanted to catch, you could just go to it real quick and just hear it. Thank you guys again. We appreciate you guys. And we're going to sign off. Okay, bye.